A beautiful late summer afternoon in our nation's capital as a pair of National League powers cruise toward a potential postseason rematch for the second consecutive year. Fox Saturday Baseball presents the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Washington Nationals. When the week began, the Dodgers were suffering through an unprecedented losing streak, potentially changing the narrative of what's been a magical season. Meanwhile, Washington was celebrating their second straight NL East title and entertaining thoughts of catching LA in the race for home field advantage in the playoffs. But behind Clayton Kershaw and Yu Darvish, the Dodgers responded with 2 wins in San Francisco. And last night, a rebound performance from Alex Wood and a trio of long balls powered LA to a shutout win in the series opener. It would seem on this day in September, all is right with Dodger Blue. This is a valid number for the first time in a long time in Major League Baseball, with the best overall record in the game, hosting World Series home field advantage. Right now it belongs to the Dodgers in the senior circuit and the red-hot Indians in the American League. Dodgers and Nationals here this afternoon. Welcome inside with John Smoltz, Matt Vasgersian, Ken Rosenthal with us as well. These two teams, John, as we know, have a lot in common, including amazing depth on both sides of the scorecard.
Well, and that's why the Dodgers have been so good. They have every area of their ball club covered. They've got the Rookie of the Year, potentially some MVP candidates, and maybe a Cy Young candidate. But what they have is the most, I would say, maligned, talked about player in the game, and that's Yasiel Puig. Yasiel Puig has been so good. He's hitting a homer last night. He has numbers against right-handed pitching, has been outstanding, and he's the reason. He's been batting in the 8th spot. Today will be in the 5th. But he's exciting. He's got all the talent in the world, and really he's stepped up his game.
So many parallels to the Nationals as well, with not only multiple Cy Young candidates, but you could probably make the case they've got a couple of MVP candidates in their lineup as well.
They absolutely do, and everybody's going to be looking towards Bryce Harper and his health. But what the Nationals also have is a lot of help. You've got Daniel Murphy, of course, Zimmerman, but the guy that goes under the radar is Anthony Rendon, one of the best third basemen in the game. He's having an unbelievable year, and that's why the Nationals have won the division as easily as they have, and it's why they're so prepped to go deep into October. They are cast offensively as good as anybody in the National League.
They've represented the two best in the National League virtually all season long as they collide this weekend and potentially again 3 weeks from now under much bigger stakes. We're back with the opening lineups and the opening pitch next. Just a beautiful weekend in Washington, D.C. The Lincoln Memorial and an 84-degree afternoon here with a calm wind and really ideal late summer conditions. Unseasonably warm for some, as you see a lot of shirt sleeves and sunglasses and suntan oil, or sunblock in our cases, in the stands today. Let's take a look at the Los Angeles Dodgers lineup for Game 2 of the series. Dave Roberts, guys, looking to make it 4 in a row, and he'll start it with the veteran Chase Utley. Two-time All-Star Corey Seager follows. He's been hot, homering yesterday. Justin Turner, Cody Bellinger, and Yasiel Puig bat 3 through 5. Curtis Granderson just 4 for 52 over the last 2.5 weeks, looking to get things back together today in left field. Austin Barnes, Jock Peterson, and today's starter Rich Hill round things out against the 25-year-old right-hander A.J. Cole, who makes his first start since earlier in the month, back on September 4th. He's had a couple of relief outings since, but back out there today as Dusty Baker decided to change his rotation for the series around a little bit. It's Cole this afternoon.
Yeah, one of the things you saw on that drop line that you don't see out of a lot of young pitchers anymore is 824 innings in the minors, which means he has not progressed to the level that a lot of people expected. For him to be good today, he needs good life and movement on that fastball. He turns over his changeup. He's got a curveball and a slider with a long arm action. If he does not get on top of the baseball, this lineup, the Dodgers lineup, will have their way with him. But if he gets late movement on that two-seam fastball, he'll have success.
Utley, Seager, and Turner to start things for the Dodgers, and we are underway this afternoon with a first pitch swing and a ground ball for Trey Turner right into the shift, and Utley's a quick out to start the afternoon. Check the Nationals on defense. A number of decisions that Dusty Baker's been forced to make down the stretch in the absence, of course, of Bryce Harper. The outfield today, Kendrick, Taylor, and Worth. Rendon, Turner, Murphy, and Zimmerman around the horn, and a catcher behind the plate making just his 4th start of the season, but he did start in the postseason last year. Young Pedro Severino calling pitches for A.J. Cole. The two work together in AAA this year as Cole goes back to work now on Corey Seager with 1 away.
See that long arm action that I was talking about? He almost fillets the ball off a little bit right there at the end and creates that movement. That's the pitch he has to get. And that's the pitch he's going to look to try to face a really good left-handed lineup that the Dodgers can throw at him.
Yeah, 6 left-handed batters for Dave Roberts' guys today. And a Dodger lineup, John, as folks have been following the ebbs and flows of the Dodgers streaks, that looks like it's put the throes of the 11-game losing streak and one of the worst stretches in modern record for this franchise behind them, as LA had lost 16 out of 17. Worry grew into panic in the minds of some, but throughout, the veterans like Adrian Gonzalez and their evenly keeled manager Dave Roberts preached the same message, and here they are today in the midst of a 3-game winning streak. As Seager pops it up, Rendon and Turner, and it's Anthony Rendon for route number 2. Time to check the Lincoln Motor Company keys to the game today.
Well, when you look at this game, they can do whatever they want, but the Dodgers underclassmen, I think, when you talk about Bellinger and Corey Seager, when those two are in the lineup, tremendous record. And then continue the trend for the Nationals. They've had the best success against left-handed pitchers, best in baseball, and they're looking to use that lineup to propel them as they continue to not just play out the string, but finish as strong as they can, as they've already wrapped up the division.
2 out, bases empty now for All-Star third baseman Justin Turner. A solo home run yesterday. He's hit safely in 17 of his last 18. You know, the streaky comings and goings of the Dodgers here since the All-Star break are such that in a year where you think you've seen everything, we've seen something for the first time. This year's Dodgers are the first team in Major League history to have a pair of 10-game winning streaks and a 10-game losing streak in the same season.
That is amazing. I mean, it's been a crazy September when you think of all the things that has gone on with the Indian streak, the Dodgers streak. The Diamondbacks got hot.
Big swing and a miss. Turner late on a fastball to fall behind the ball and 2 strikes. Of course, the Indians' notable 22-game streak coming to a close yesterday. Falling just short, unable to find that late magic against Kansas City as they did on Thursday to extend it. Here's the 1-2 to Turner. But you know, we put that number up before we went on the air, John, talking about best overall record in baseball, because as fans know, the All-Star game no longer dictates home field advantage for the All-Star game, and that goes to best overall record, something that folks are more mindful of this year than in quite a long time. 2-2 from Cole is swung on and missed. A nice start to the night, to the day, that is, for the 25-year-old right-hander. Baker lines the Nationals this afternoon. Trey Turner leads it off at shortstop. He's enjoyed a multi-hit game in 4 of his last 9. Howie Kendrick has been a real boost for this club in left field, batting number 2 today. Murphy, Zimmerman, and Rendon, a 3 through 5 that packs plenty of punch. Jason Worth in right, Michael Taylor in center, Pedro Severino making his 4th start behind the plate, and A.J. Cole rounding things out for the 2017 National League Eastern Division champs. It's Rich Hill on the mound for the Dodgers this afternoon. The 37-year-old veteran southpaw. He went 5 in his last start against the Rockies and was handed his 4th consecutive loss, looking to snap out of a mini dry spell here and improve his overall record at 10-8 on the year. Turner, Kendrick, and Murphy lead things off for the Nats, and it's a quick 2-0 start to Trey Turner.
Last couple games, fastball command has not been where Rich Hill would like it. He has things to work on to get ready for the postseason. You're going to see a lot of different arm angles, a lot of curveballs out of Rich Hill in today's game.
2 balls and a strike to count to Trey Turner, who checks in at 282 overall. A 40 stolen base campaign despite missing significant time on the DL this year. And it's even at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
You know, I'm going to state the obvious. They need Bryce Harper, but the return of Trey Turner to me is the catalyst of this team. He can beat you in so many ways. He can beat you with the long ball, his legs, his defense, of course the stolen bases. So his return makes the Washington Nationals a real threat with him at the top of the lineup.
Hill's 2-2 to Turner. He gets him to chase, and there's 1 away to start the home half of inning number 1.
For Rich Hill, it might look like at the end of his delivery sometimes he's kicking a field goal, and that's exactly what happens when he releases the ball. He doesn't throw in the upper 90s, but he has such great spin on his fastball along with his curveball, makes it very difficult. You see that little kick right there, like he just kicked a 35-yard field goal? That's Rich Hill at his best, although the first inning has not been kind to him this year.
Here's Howie Kendrick now with one away. Yeah, once Rich Hill gets out of the first, however, he's kicked it into a different gear, if we may continue the kicking analogies. First inning ERA of 6.55 for Hill. From innings 2 on, it's less than half that at 3.01. And a quick 1-1 start to Howie Kendrick. Hard to ignore the splits there. Get him out of the first and you're in pretty good shape. Kendrick with a soft bouncer fouled.
Both managers are going to have the luxury of just really playing with a lot of different lineups, figuring out who their roster and what their roster is going to look like. So I used to love this scenario if I was Rich Hill. Facing a team I know I might face in the postseason, I would not traditionally pitch them the way I would normally. Just create doubt, create different type strategies, because you have that luxury knowing you're going into the postseason.
Kendrick lines to Seager, and there are 2 away. Well, Rich Hill last saw the Washington Nationals in Game 5 of the Division Series last year. Went 4 1/3 in that one, allowed 4 earned runs. And that was the night that Kenley Jansen had to do the big heavy lift out of the bullpen, get 7 outs. Clayton Kershaw finished business, and the Dodgers advanced to the NLCS.
And this guy Murphy had success in the playoffs, 3 singles off of Hill. He stays in there about as good as anybody does on any left-hander, and of course, average-wise, it speaks for itself for what he's done. Power numbers maybe down just a little bit this year.
Into center field. A routine play for Jock Peterson out there today, as was the case in the top of the inning. A 1-2-3 bottom of the first. We go to the second. Rookie sensation Cody Bellinger leads things off in a scoreless game. Baseball. Back with John Smoltz and Ken Rosenthal. Matt Vasgersian. A scoreless ball game early on. Cody Bellinger leads things off in the visitors' second. Bellinger, Puig, and Granderson against right-hander A.J. Cole.
Bellinger has just had an unbelievable season. He's obviously going to win the Rookie of the Year. He has showed no signs of slowing down.
37 home runs at the start of play, make it 38. As the second pitch he sees this afternoon is deposited into the right field stands, and it's 1-0 Los Angeles.
What I was getting ready to say, but it happened so quickly. Everyone's trying to figure out, how do you pitch this guy? You've got to backdoor stuff to him and get him thinking away, but get him out up and in. That pitch is over the middle of the plate, and he has crushed. Home runs in the middle 9 times, lower part of the strike zone 6 times. And that is a recipe that has been repeated many times. Mr. Bellinger having a breakout rookie campaign.
1-0 Dodgers on a notable home run by Cody Bellinger as Yasiel Puig digs in. That was number 38 for Bellinger, as we mentioned. An important number as it ties him with Wally Berger and Frank Robinson for the most home runs ever by a National Leaguer in his rookie season.
He has a very erect stance, and then you see how quick the bat gets through the zone from a guy who's standing up, and look where the barrel of the bat goes, absolutely to the ball on an upper pitch.
Yasiel Puig lines to left, and this one hangs for Kendrick and 1 away. In pretty good company, passing Mike Piazza and Albert Pujols earlier, and now pulling even with Wally Berger and Hall of Famer Frank Robinson. And you got to figure that record's going to belong to Cody by himself before October 1st.
I mean, obviously he's forced some decisions for Dave Roberts on what his lineup could look like today. Of course, he's at first base, which usually is occupied by Adrian Gonzalez. But his injury really is the reason Bellinger got a chance to get in the lineup and flourish.
Yeah, nobody has suggested that Cody Bellinger is going to Wally Pip Adrian Gonzalez, because Gonzalez is one of the most accomplished hitters in baseball. However, it's hard to ignore how the team took off when Bellinger went to first base. Of course, Cody's been open to playing other positions, knowing that Gonzalez is a veteran presence. But, you know, you could categorize that as a good problem for Dave Roberts. It doesn't mean it's an easy problem to handle. He's got a lot of things to work on in terms of a roster for the postseason. Left field, he's got a bunch of left-handed hitters that are candidates for the postseason roster there. This is one of them, Curtis Granderson, who ever since being acquired from the Mets has really struggled with the Dodgers. Just 4 for his last 52. High fly ball that's hooking very foul.
Yeah, the fun part is right now, right? How good your team has been playing. The hard part's going to be making those decisions, because he has so much depth that creates a problem for who he's going to pick and what he wants that player to do. There's going to be a lot of players that want to contribute and aren't going to be in that spot that they thought they were when the season started.
Yeah, it's been a grinder come August 1st. The summer months have not been kind to Curtis Granderson, nor have they been kind to his teammate Yasmani Grandal. He was in a notable 1-fer. Grandal getting a day off today in favor of Austin Barnes behind the plate, who waits on deck next.
I asked each manager, do you go with resume or last impression? Because last impression is the most tempting one to go for, especially with today's philosophies, that we are so quick to judge, and the resume of a veteran player still resonates with a lot of these managers.
Granderson hanging around. It's still 3 balls and 2 strikes. You know, the problems for the Nationals are similar in terms of an outfield combination, but for different reasons. And Dusty Baker sharing with us that Bryce Harper's getting closer. He's resumed baseball activity, throwing, but there's no official timetable for his return. And Dusty was very candid in talking about how they're just a different ball club without him. I think a lot of times a manager will say, oh, you know, we've got other guys, we're going to do our best. Dusty said, no, we have to have him back. I mean, period, the end. We need this guy.
Yeah, if he just stands there and never swings the bat, he makes their lineup better, because no one knows as a pitcher.
On the appeal, they say that Granderson did not swing the bat, and it's ball 4. So Granderson with a good plate appearance to work a walk. And he'll be aboard with 1 gone.
And that's the one issue for Cole right now. Watching a lot of film, His slider breaks too much in the zone, doesn't have that late turn, and that changeup, which he's going to rely on off his sinker, is going in the same direction. So the strikeout pitch or the put-away pitch is something he's going to have to improve, because he has some of the attributes to get a lot of ground balls, but his slider is the one. The breaking pitch has to turn the corner, cannot stay within the catcher's chest protector, if you will. It's got to start taking the corners.
Here's the catcher this afternoon, Austin Barnes. Barnes at .294 for the season, 6 home runs and 32 driven in. Really good numbers against right-handed pitching, as is the case for a lot of the Dodgers' right-handed hitters. We were talking about this before we went on the air, just among ourselves. It seems it's the year of the reverse splits. We're talking about that in regards to Yasiel Puig, who's done his best work, overwhelmingly so, against same-handed pitching. Another strike, and it's a ball and 2 strikes now to Austin Barnes.
So that last pitch right there is a good example of where he's got to be. Now, if he had a breaking ball to throw right off of the depth of where this fastball ends up, now if you could start your breaking ball right there and make it disappear left, Barnes would have a much difficult time staying off of it. Let's see what they choose to go with in a 1-2 pitch.
Ball and 2 strikes with a runner aboard.
There it is.
Barnes can't hold on.
And see, that's the difference. So if he can get that kind of turn on his breaking ball, then he'll have right-handed hitters fear the sinker a little bit more. And it's really the last location recognition that the hitter has. And see how that pitch was nowhere close, but out of his hand, it was coming out like another sinker. And then the late spin off the plate is what's going to help A.J. Cole. You know, it's interesting, 824 innings, but at every level he got better in the minors. Now this is the last level that he has to continue to get to survive.
2 out with a runner aboard now for the center fielder Jock Peterson, just 1 for 11 since his recall back from AAA. Yeah, Cole's 2017 season at AAA Syracuse was a strange one. He went 4-5 with a 5.88 ERA. He spent the majority of each of the last 3 years at AAA Syracuse, and you wonder at some point, is going back to Syracuse every year part of the problem?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of guys can't click it into that next gear if they don't see the future with the big league parent organization. Nothing in 1, the count to Jock Peterson. And they work him inside and miss, a ball and a strike.
Well, with Peterson's swing path, and obviously one thing he usually thinks about, and that's trying to hit the ball a ton up in the air. That's why he has a lot of swings and misses. This sinker could be a good matchup for Jock Peterson if he leaves one flat over the middle of the plate.
And Peterson pops it up. Zimmerman near the stands and doesn't have arms quite that long.
That's that breaking ball that kind of spun over the middle. He got away with it. And Zimmerman, who settled in at first base.
Who makes that catch? Frank Howard?
Yeah, maybe.
Tony Clark? Who's the longest armed first baseman you ever played with?
That's a good question.
Now, he needed another 1.5 feet. I don't know if there's anybody. Hakeem Olajuwon.
Just thinking of
couldn't hit the breaking ball though.
Fred McGriff.
Ooh, okay.
Crime Dog.
Next 1-2 to Peterson, misses down at the shoes. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Rich Hill waits next, the pitcher on deck. This number 8 spot is where Yasiel Puig has had most of his success this year. But Dave Roberts telling us before the game he likes Puig batting in the middle of the lineup because he wants him to know what it feels like to have earned that opportunity. So Puig bats 5th today, and it's a full count now. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Peterson.
That's a great pitch. That's the kind of pitch that Cole needs. He needs that kind of little bit of help on the inside and outside part. See how it just comes around the corner of the plate.
Jock was ready to walk back to the visitors' dugout there too. Granderson will be on the move, and a swing and a miss by Peterson. Can't take advantage of the second layer. That's 3 strikeouts for A.J. Cole, but the home run by Cody Bellinger, his National League rookie record tying 38, has gotten the Dodgers on the scoreboard first today in D.C. Today's telecast is sponsored by Charles Schwab. Own your own tomorrow. A little bit of overcast settling over Nationals Park in D.C. Gorgeous afternoon for baseball. The 1-0 lead for the Dodgers. Thanks for getting up early out on the West Coast and joining us, by the way. These 1 o'clock starts in the East for a West Coast team after getting here late on Thursday, playing a night game yesterday. I don't think there's a clock in that Dodger dugout that is set quite right this morning. It's a goofy time of day for them. Ryan Zimmerman leads things off in the second. Zimmerman, Rendon, and Worth.
Oh, but the good news is most of the fans who want to see the game are guaranteed to see it today, right? Unlike the current situation they have.
Okay, yeah.
So
fair point.
Get up, watch their Dodgers.
Do you remember when you and I were in Australia on opening day a few years ago when the Dodgers and Diamondbacks opened the season out there, and the Dodgers were experimenting with different colored lights to try to get their clocks right?
They were. They've had all the sleep studies, and certainly that trip, you would think, based on the 20+ hours or whatever it took to get there and back. But the Dodgers are well equipped in every area.
Zimmerman sends a fly ball out to shallow right. And Puig is under it to make the catch. For Rich Hill, we mentioned he's lost 4 straight starts, and a cool irony in beginning that stretch. 4 starts ago, he lost a 1-0 decision on a 10-hit or a 10 strikeout, 1-hit performance, a game that he was perfect through 7 and was pulled because of a blister, something that's been kind of an ongoing concern for Rich. And you just saw the emotion coming out of him that day. I mean, imagine being that close to not only a win, but a complete game, a shutout, a perfect game, and then ending it with a loss, one that's begun a stretch of 4 in a row. Here's Anthony Rendon now, and as we say hello to Ken Rosenthal for the first time today. Kenny, that emotion from Rich Hill that night, something that his teammates are used to seeing.
It is, Matt, and Rich Hill is not exactly John Lackey out there, but you're right. His teammates enjoy his intensity on the mound. Clayton Kershaw describes Rich Hill as one of a kind, saying that he doesn't act his age, which is 37. And Chase Utley had an interesting comp when I asked him about Hill yesterday. He said that Hill reminds him of his old Phillies teammate Jamie Moyer. Jamie Moyer, too, was emotional out there, quite energetic. The stuff is obviously different, but the guys are kind of the same.
Here's a that's Jamie Moyer being Jamie Moyer. Over 25 years, if Rich Hill could match Jamie Moyer's tenure, he'd be pitching into his 60s, because Rich, as we know, has been a late bloomer in his career. And it's 3 balls and a strike to Anthony Rendon.
Yeah, one thing in that latest stretch that he has not been very good with the fastball command, and that has frustrated him from time to time because he has such a great curveball. If he's hitting with the fastballs, the hitters have no chance to lay off the curveballs. Ooh.
Full count to Rendon now, 3-2.
It's good help there on that pitch.
Hey, speaking of John Lackey, he was fined today for his outburst yesterday against the Cardinals, and his catcher Wilson Contreras got a 2-game suspension, which he is appealing for flipping his mask. As Rendon pulls one near the line in left field. If it's fair, it's gone, and it's a foul ball, but not by much.
Well, the curveball we were talking about, watch how much break it has late. And as a hitter, as a right-handed hitter, you got to anticipate where that break is going to be. And then hopefully you don't have as much hook that he had right there on a ball that was clearly a home run distance, but just a tad foul. Long strike.
Rendon slugged a career high 23 of them this year as he fouls off another, still 3-2. Did you see that Lackey snap yesterday?
Yeah, I saw it.
That was a good one.
That one is in the world of anticipation. You could have seen that coming.
He let you know.
Yeah, but you know, we all do certain things when we're on the mound, big game, facing the closest rival. Thought you had strike 3. You got to remember it was the pitcher that was up.
As Rendon beats another one foul, still 3 balls and 2 strikes.
So it wasn't like missing strike 3 on Bryce Harper, which you never want to have anyone miss. You don't want to throw Bryce Harper 4 strikes. But the Cubs won, and nothing will change.
Cubs won, Brewers won, and Chicago with a 3-game lead over Milwaukee, 4 better than St. Louis. Will be in Milwaukee next week for the Cubs and Brewers, what might be Milwaukee's best last chance to catch the Cubs. As Rendon works out a very patient ball 4. Not only a career home run year for Anthony Rendon, he has drawn a career high walk total this season as well. So that's the first Nats base runner, and it comes in front of the former Dodger Jason Worth.
Worth and Dusty Baker are going to have some interesting decisions. Of course, Howie Kendrick has filled in. Worth has been injured, and you see the numbers. Those are going to have to pick up. He needs to get some more reps. He's had a sore shoulder, which has contributed to some of those numbers. When you think about left-handers, and Dodgers certainly have a slew of left-handers, and a potential matchup down the road in the postseason, the right-handed lineup of the Washington Nationals and their average against left-handers bodes well for that kind of matchup.
Worth again just 6 for 38 since coming off the DL, and takes ball 1 from Rich Hill.
Worth, one of the more patient hitters. You rarely see him get super aggressive early in the count.
Two balls and no strikes. Well, Jason's in the 7th and final year of his current contract. He's been an important player here in DC. He was the first major piece of their build-up 7 years ago. 15th year in the big leagues overall. We mentioned he's a former Dodger, a couple of years in LA in 04 and 05. Had postseason experience with the Dodgers then. Became a star in Philly and parlayed the success he had there into the 7-year deal he's wrapping up with the Nationals. A Big curveballs in for a strike, 2-2.
And see, that's the curveball that is so difficult for umpires and more difficult for hitters, because the height of that curveball is a ball the whole way to a hitter. It's almost unhittable. I know it seems weird to say that, but look how high that is. Unless you really know that's coming and going to come down, you got to take it. And that, where he catches it, to the umpire and to the hitter, they do not agree on whether that is a strike or not based on where it crossed.
And a called strike 3. Yeah, Jason didn't like the higher quadrant of Gary Cedarstrom's strike zone there at all. Let him know in diplomatic terms, and there are 2 gone on Hill's second strikeout today.
See, that is a high pitch, and the way that baseball has evolved with all the home run swings and misses, and now you're seeing guys that can spin a baseball and throw the curveball's making a comeback. And that's why Rich Hill has been able to rejuvenate his career based on the curveball.
Here's Michael Taylor now. He's been red hot over the last week plus, and he falls behind 0-1.
As a pitcher, it's awfully tempting to say, you could argue that the ball that crosses the plate and catches low is more of a strike than the one that finishes high and catches in the strike zone. But you pitch according to it. If you need to throw higher curveballs because that's what you're getting, I would think Rich Hill's all for it.
351 over his last 10 games. We'll check in on Rendon, who's stolen 7 bags this year. A number of other day games in Major League Baseball on this Saturday, as we're down to the 15-game poll in the regular season. Seattle and Houston are underway, and that's a scoreless game in the second. Of note is the Cardinals and Cubs once again today. Again, 4 games separating those 2 teams atop the NL Central, with the Brewers in the middle of them.
That's a must-win for the Cardinals today. It's safe to say.
Yeah, they've got Michael Wacha. And Cleveland trying to start a new winning streak to end the season.
You know, in a weird way, I mean, Cleveland, that was the crowd really bought into it. I think there's relief, to be honest with you.
And a called strike 3 taken by Michael Taylor. More on the Indians winning streak as we continue. 3 strikeouts for Hill as he's thrown 2 scoreless innings to start the afternoon in D.C. Off in the visitors' half of the third, the number 9 batter, and then Chase Utley and Corey Seager against A.J. Cole, who struck out 3 so far, along with allowing the solo home run by Cody Bellinger, which stands as the game's lone score so far. 1-0 Dodgers, top half of the third.
Did you see Rich Hill right there? I mean, he was thinking one thing only.
Rich.
Yeah. Went up there, first pitch, took a huge hack. Usually changes the pitcher's pitch selection after that.
Bunting on 0-1, and Cole gathers it in and gets him.
Who says he's 37?
This postseason on baseball, get ready for excitement, drama, and thrilling plays. The 2017 Major League Baseball postseason begins October 3rd. Go to MLB.com/postseason for a full schedule.
See, I could see that later in the game. Button for a base hit, trying to get something going.
You don't like the huge hack and then the bunt for single?
Not as a pitcher. You got it in your. I don't know. You waste a lot of energy that way.
Well, he's leading off the inning, right? Knows he has a couple of at-bats to sit now. There's Chase Utley with 1 gone. You know, speaking of the postseason, so 2 teams here who are coasting toward the division series. The Nationals having already clinched. The Dodgers with the best record in baseball, despite the swoon when they lost 16 out of 17. LA hasn't been to a World Series since '88, of course. The famous Kirk Gibson, Dennis Eckersley battle, the unlikely win over the Oakland A's that year. They have made the playoffs 10 times since, have gotten no farther than the NLCS. The Nats have gotten as far as only the division series, in which they are 0-3, including a loss to the Dodgers last year. And as longtime baseball columnist Thomas Boswell pointed out in the Washington Post this week, baseball's current postseason format, in the words of Thomas Boswell, has a glitch. So we know that the best team, the number 1 seed, the team with best overall record, is Mr. Boswell. That team has to wait 3 or 4 days to learn of its opponent, the wild card winner, which gets there with a full head of steam and only 1 day off. And perhaps as a result of that, since the wild card format arrived, it's the wild card winner, not the best overall record team, the wild card winner that's 23-18. As Utley has a base hit into right, looking to turn it into 2. He'll get into second without a play.
Well, Matty, as you know, I do a lot of thinking in my spare time, and I've got the fix to that. I just don't know if baseball will ever go to us. Too many off days. We're conditioned as a baseball player to play 162 games in 180 days. So to that point, I think, and I've always thought, that the wild card should be a best of 3. Then you really put them at a disadvantage. And or if you don't do that, you give the wild card team winner 1 home game in a best of 5 series, where the better team gets 4 straight home games. And if you're going to beat that team, you basically have to beat them in their ballpark. I just think there's no decided advantage for doing what the Dodgers and the Nationals have done, to have the best record in baseball and not really be at an advantage when you're facing a team like you just mentioned, a team that comes in and plays. So 1 home game.
Okay.
You guarantee the team 1 home game. That's it.
The wild card team.
The wild card team. They open the series, and then the next 4 games, or if there are 4 games, I just think you've got to put some emphasis on winning the division.
So there has to be a bigger reward for winning a division.
Absolutely.
And a kind of a bigger roadblock, make it a little more difficult on the wild card team.
And think about it. What makes this team good is their depth. But why? You don't need depth with all the off days. You got too many off days in between series. We create this opportunity for teams to get a couple starters hot. If you didn't have this many off days, every team would have to use 4 starters to get through a series. Hence the Dodgers, why they ran off the record they did, because they had a better all-around team.
Yeah. Well, I do know this. There's been a lot of discussion about a potential wild card matchup awaiting the Dodgers, and it is looking like it'll be the Dodgers with the best overall record. It's not to say the Nats can't catch him. They just might run out of time. It's a 6-game swing right now. That's a lot with 15 left. So if the wild card stays as it is, and it's the Diamondbacks and Rockies, if the Diamondbacks come out of that, they've got the starting pitching that could scare anybody, including LA, because the Diamondbacks have given the Dodgers a rough time this year with any combination of Greinke or Ray, who's been really hard on Dave Roberts' guys. Godley, Corbin, Taijuan Walker's been pitching great. Arizona's scary. 2-0 pitch to Seager is bounced out to Murphy at second base. That'll advance Utley on out number 2. Not good against the Diamondbacks as you take a look at how the Dodgers have matched up against the better teams in the circuit this year. Kenny, are you of the mind that the wild card winner needs to have a little tougher road to the championship round?
I am. I'm with John here. And anything baseball can do to honor the 162 and reduce the randomness of the playoffs is something that would be good. And that's a problem we've had in recent years. You don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs. There's too much that can happen. And the wild card teams do have this seeming advantage. So if it's one home game, if it's something else, I'm all for it. You don't want to ever lose the sanctity of the 162 game schedule. Other sports, it's happened. The regular seasons mean nothing. I wouldn't go that far in our sport, but it could be better.
Justin Turner digs in and is hit by the first pitch he sees from A.J. Cole, and that puts runners at first and third with 2 gone for Cody Bellinger. You know, to button it up, only 2 of the last 27 teams to have won a division by 10 or more games, the kind of lead that teams like Dodgers and Astros have enjoyed through the year, have gone on to win a World Series. About half of them lose in the division series. I mean, the numbers are even more pronounced when you talk about the wild card winners and the success they've had versus the relative lack thereof of the teams that have dominated.
Right. So if you think about the integrity of the season, everything's a series. Everything. 3-game series, 4-game series, a couple 2-game series. That's why the wild card has to be a series. You've got to burn at least 2 pitchers. And then even if you have the time off, you're the team that's favored because you won the division. You have the luxury of a fresh starting staff, whereas the other team already burned 2, maybe 3. They might have taken a 3-game series to move on. That's how you put the emphasis on the division winners. And you just got to have to deal with it by the fact that you play a game and you got to travel, and the next day you open up your series. That's the way it is in the regular season. But we're so consumed with these playoff off days that in 11 to win 11 games to win the World Series, what could that take? 30 days?
Cody Bellinger has his second RBI of the game as he reaches out and strokes an opposite field RBI single to left, throwing to third on Turner's not in time. Bellinger to second, and it's 2-0 LA.
Well, the shift is on. A really good pitch, and there's nothing you can do if you're A.J. Cole. You made the pitch, he just executed, and then the defensive throw here, this hitting Turner allowed Bellinger to get to second. Now you're second and third instead of first and third. And the Dodgers with 2 outs looking for Puig to get a hit to give him a 4-run lead.
Puig lined to left in his first try today. 2 for 4 with a home run yesterday. His career best 26th of the year. Runners in scoring position for him. He sends a fly ball to center. Michael Taylor coming on to make the catch and retire the side. 2 are left stranded. But thanks to Cody Bellinger, the Dodgers strike again. Fox up next. Army battles number 8 Ohio State, then Texas, and 4th-ranked USC meet for the first time since the epic 2006 National Championship game at 8:30 Eastern on Fox, where every game is everything. Texas, USC. The men of Troy have been waiting for that rematch for the better part of a decade. Later on tonight on Fox. Pedro Severino leads things off in the Washington half of the 3rd. Severino, then the pitcher A.J. Cole, and top of the order Trey Turner. A walk and 3 strikeouts on Rich Hill's line. First 2 innings in this one so far. Nationals yet to enjoy base hit, as Hill fouls, or rather Severino fouls that one off. So for Rich Hill, and his story is certainly well known by Dodger fans, the story of a guy who is the textbook definition of a late bloomer. Kicked around between 6 teams for the decade between 2005 and 2014. Was Nationals property to begin the 2015 season. Never got to the big leagues with the Nats. He was released in June by Washington. Went back home to suburban Boston. Was working out in July. At the suggestion of the Red Sox pro scouting director, moved from the first base side of the rubber to the third base side of the rubber, and that's where you're watching him work today. Made a couple of starts for the Independent League Long Island Ducks, signed with the Red Sox, 32 innings at Pawtucket that year, then came up and made 4 starts in big league Boston, and was a revelation as he strikes out Severino. Those 4 starts netted him a 1-year $6 million contract to go to Oakland the next year. A's traded him to the Dodgers at the deadline that season. He finished well in LA and then signed a 4-year deal with the Dodgers, and here he is at the age of 37 with 2 more years in the bank that'll take him through his age 39 season, and pitching as well as he ever has at any point in his professional career right now.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting, he's not a prototypical go strike one to make these things work. He pitches a little backwards, and the reason he can do that is because at any time he can get back in the count with a curveball. It's similar to Carpenter and Wainwright and their curveballs. It was such a weapon that even though there's behind in the count, he can at any time flip that curveball, change speeds, and make his fastball look a lot firmer than it is to the hitters. But this is the kind of scenario I've seen him in the last couple starts, which will frustrate your pitching coach, will frustrate your manager. His command with his fastball can lose him at times, and now you see another 3-0 count after striking out the hitter, and he's throwing to the pitcher.
3 balls and a strikeout to A.J. Cole. So explain for those at home, when a guy moves from the first base side of the rubber, a left-hander that is, to where he is now on the third base side, the explanation was it's allowing him to control the strike zone better with his fastball. How, in terms of angles, how do we make the lay person understand that?
So for the most part, he's going to face all right-handers, right? So now he brings in the angle of his fastball, which already has good backspin. But I think it's more to do with his curveball and the angle he throws. He's throwing his curveball for balls on the outside, or what would be the left-handed batter's box, and it creates a difficult opportunity for the right-hander to track it. So if he was on the first base side, you would think that would create the leverage that he would need, but actually it's giving him more comfort to throw that backdoor curveball, in my opinion. The general rule about the rubber is this: if you're a right-handed pitcher that throws a 4-seam fastball and a slider, you want to be on the third base side of the ball. That's your best leverage against your same arm batter, right-handed. If you're a sinker baller, you want to be on the first base side. Same thing with left-handers, obviously reversed. Well, he's not a sinker. He's a 4-seam fastball, and for whatever reason, to your point, when they moved him over there, his command and the ability to see the pitch and accomplish the pitch has been better.
Trey Turner batting with a runner on and 1 away. By the way, as that one makes Turner move a little bit, we'll take another look at that from behind Trey Turner.
That one chased him. He throws about 3 or 4 different type of breaking balls.
0-2 the count. And he makes quick work of Turner for his 5th strikeout of the game. I was going to mention for A.J. Cole, he is very unfamiliar with being on base. He stays put after Turner's caught looking at strike 3.
That was just Turner guessing breaking ball, and fastball was thrown right down the middle.
It's just the second time A.J. Cole's ever been on base as a major league pitcher. A couple of walks, and here's Howie Kendrick now. He lined to shortstop in his first try today. Howie Kendrick's hit .285 or better in 10 of his 12 years as a major league player. As a breaking ball misses inside to him, and it's 1-1. You hear the term comfortable at bat a lot in describing an opponent on the mound. I would imagine Rich Hill is a very uncomfortable at bat.
Yeah, very much so, because of the break on his breaking ball. It is so good, and it has different tilts to it. I guarantee you Kendrick, the first pitch, went up looking for that breaking ball, and he got it and he swung at it. All right, and that's the downside of it. You really have to maximize the break and see it early and recognize it's going to be up in the zone so that you can take advantage of it rather than one down.
And Kendrick is caught looking. A 1-out walk with 3 strikeouts for a total of 6 through just 3 innings for Rich Hill, who leads it 2-0. By Budweiser, who reminds you to give a damn. Don't drink, don't drive drunk. And by Hyundai. Play Ball is Major League Baseball's initiative to inspire all forms of baseball and softball participation, making play opportunities available and fun for everybody. To learn more, go to playball.org.
You had a lot of D's in that one promo.
Yeah, there was. That was one of those little tie your Scotch Irish tongue in a knot. A 2-0 lead for the Dodgers as we start the top of the 4th. A.J. Cole back to work on Granderson, Barnes, and Peterson. The 6, 7, 8 batters here in the top of the inning for Los Angeles. Dodgers looking to win their 4th in a row. And if we talk about some of the big picture implications on the schedule on this Saturday, there are some clinch scenarios today.
Indians got to be one of those.
Indians are one of them. In fact, both of them in the American League are what you'd guess with the 2 teams that have built up the most in terms of wins equity. The Indians can clinch the Central with a win against Kansas City, and they've got Carlos Carrasco on the mound today. They look strong, and a Twins loss. Go back to that in a moment as Granderson lays off a pitch for a strike. It's 1-1. And for the Astros, if they beat the Mariners, and if Texas wins today, it's Houston that clinches the AL West. It was a foregone conclusion that it was going to happen at some point, given what they had done earlier in the year, as Granderson bunts one fouled.
Yeah, those are usually scenarios for like the last weekend of the season. Those are two scenarios that are going to happen soon with about 17 games to go. So both those teams very comfortable in what they've done and the work they put in. Houston, of course, had that lull, much like the Dodgers. But the adrenaline rush when they picked up at the deadline, Justin Verlander vaulted them into what, like a 6-game winning streak before they ran into your mighty A's.
Swept over a 4-game weekend series in Oakland last weekend. Yeah, Houston leads Seattle currently 4-0 in the third, and the Twins are once again home with Toronto today as Granderson fouls off the next 1-2 pitch.
Cole has been the unlucky one. When he's on the mound, he has not received a lot of run support, where a lot of his teammates who've been on the mound get a fair share of about 5 or 6 runs a game on average.
Granderson's caught looking. Hey, let's get back to the Indians for a moment as they wrapped up the American League's longest winning streak ever after they were set back yesterday to the Kansas City Royals. A 22-game streak, a new American League record. It included an 11-0 road run, and it's the best team start to any month of any year since September of 1911. And again, the Indians have Carlos Carrasco on the mound later on today. Here's Austin Barnes now.
And let me explain what I meant by saying that's actually a relief. They wanted that to ride as long as they could, but it's a relief now that that is not the focus, and Terry can actually work on his players' health and well-being moving forward to what they hope is going to be a long run. That streak, which had very little close games until the last couple, was a product of tremendous starting pitching, dominant starting pitching, and a bullpen that's been pretty good. So when you look at like the Nationals, the Dodgers, the Indians, some of these repeat teams that are coming into the playoffs, all are much better. The Dodgers are much better than they were last year. The Nationals, of course, are much better than they were last year. And the Indians are much better. That leaves the Cubs. And the Cubs have yet to be determined, based on some health, whether they're going to be better or not heading into this postseason if they make it that far.
2-1 pitch to Barnes is sliced into right center field. That'll get into the gap. Taylor's there to cut it off. Barnes on his way to second. Here's the throw. It's too late. And it's a 1-out double for Austin Barnes in the fourth. So now a chance for Jock Peterson to redeem himself.
Yeah, and Cole started him off with a breaking ball, and it's going to be a theme later after he throws a couple fastballs. He goes right back to that breaking ball, misses one there, goes down with that one, goes inside with a real good sinker, and then finishes him off with one spinner over the middle of the plate. So sometimes what you start a hitter off with might be the answer to how you're going to finish him in that at bat, and that's what Cole did.
Runner in scoring position for him here. That's Barnes at second with one gone, and Cole starts him with a strike. Now, I want to get back to this home field advantage discussion too, because at the start of this series there was some thought that maybe the Nationals had a chance to catch LA for best overall record in the National League. It's a 6-game separation now, and again with 15 left, it would take quite a change of fortune for that to happen. Off the fists to the right side of the infield. Zimmerman to Cole, and they get the out there. Barnes to third with 2 gone. In the American League, it's tighter. It's a game and a half between Cleveland and Houston. And Kenny, I want to go to you on this because, you know, there's 2 schools of thought regarding the Astros. Do they push for best home overall record and home field advantage, or do they try to get their pitching straight and get into the postseason and just ride Verlander anywhere?
Actually, Matt, they have to do both, and they have to get their pitching straight. Their bullpen has not been as good. McCullers, health question. The good news is Brad Peacock has been amazing for them. But I find it fascinating, guys, that the Cleveland Indians win 22 in a row, lose 1, and their advantage over the Astros for best overall record in the American League is only a game and a half.
Yeah.
And then there's the question of, do you really want best overall record and then get possibly the Yankees, who could be a hot team coming into this, or would it be the Red Sox? So there are all these factors in play, all these variables. All you can do is play, but I would expect the Astros to keep their pitching intact, try to keep it going and healthy. That's the priority, but also, yes, keep their eyes on best overall record as well.
Try to have their cake and eat it too, if you will, as Hill takes a strike.
I think for certain teams, it changes what matters the most. Last year for the Indians, it mattered that they got at least that first home series, and that ran them into the World Series. I think for the Astros, if they can get home field throughout the American League, that would help. And the reason it would help is you saw the numbers that Keuchel had done while he's been at home, and some of the success they've had at home, and obviously all that they've been through as a city with the devastation and all that went with what they've dealt with, would be a welcoming, I think, opportunity to treat Houston, which has yet to win a World Series, an opportunity to give them a better chance to win a World Series.
1-2 to Hill is swung on and missed. Another strikeout for A.J. Cole, who strands a runner in scoring position. 5 strikeouts for Cole. He still trails, however, 2-0 LA.
Game, and he's done it in a variety of ways. Of course, the fastball curveball primarily is what he has, but 4 have come on the fastball. Only 2 strikeouts on the curveball, and that's a way you can set up or implant something in a team that you may face later where they're looking for breaking balls. He has thrown fastballs and vice versa. That's why, with all that is at stake for the Dodgers as far as the postseason goes, this is one of those games you can kind of play with a little bit and pitch a little differently.
Daniel Murphy leads things off against him here in the bottom half of the 4th. 2-0 Los Angeles, and Cody Bellinger has delivered both of the game's RBIs in this one, a solo home run and an RBI single earlier today.
And that's what I think the national hitters have to do, is start taking advantage of fastballs. They're swinging at a lot of breaking balls, taking the fastballs, and therefore the strikeout total has piled up. If you see a fastball out over the plate, you got to be ready to hit it.
0-2 to Daniel Murphy. Murphy, the lone left-handed hitter in Dusty Baker's lineup today, trying to get as right-handed as possible against Rich Hill, and that makes sense. But when you peel back the numbers, Hill has been awfully good against hitters from both sides of the plate.
Yeah, you know, everyone asks, how can the Dodgers go in with so many left-handers? Well, I'll tell you why. Because 3 of the top 5 left-handed batting average against right-handed batters are from the Dodgers. Number 1, Kershaw. Number 3, Hill. And number 5, Wood.
And that's strikeout number 7 for Rich Hill so far this afternoon. You got Robbie Ray and Chris Sale sandwiched in the middle of that group, but it really does get your attention that 3 of those 5 are Dodgers. But even leads you to speculate a little further, and you know, maybe Yu Darvish, who has not been dominant since coming to LA, maybe what Yu Darvish is right now, 5+ innings, keep you in a ball game, maybe that's enough as a right-handed starter, given how good that group has been all year.
Well, the Dodgers have so many interesting decisions they're going to make. Which starters go to the pen, the depth they have, the length they have in their lineup, and pitching in the bullpen.
0-2 the count to Ryan Zimmerman. Yeah, Kenny, let's bring you on this because Rick Honeycutt and Dave Roberts have been working on this for a while, and soon we'll see it on the field. Whichever starters are going to work out of the bullpen in the postseason will likely start working on that in the next couple of weeks.
That's right, Matt, and it's a really interesting scenario. Alex Wood last night, 6 scoreless innings. Looks like he's getting back into the form he showed in the first half, and yet in this rotation he might end up in the bullpen again in the postseason because Hyunjin Ryu, pitching tomorrow, has pitched really well. He could be the number 4, less likely to be used as a reliever. Wood has done that in the past. Kenta Maeda has done that in the past. So you could go with 2 long men, Maeda and Wood, who have had success as starters, and then really take a different approach with your bullpen going forward.
The line out to right field for Yasiel Puig as Zimmerman's retired. I mean, again, these are all good problems to have, I suppose, when you have that many good options. Doesn't make the choices any easier.
No, it doesn't. But I really believe their latest string of games that they struggled will ultimately help this team. A lot of young players having dominant years and going through a dominant campaign, feeling the uh-oh, what's wrong scenario really will serve them well when they get into the postseason. They won't get enamored or carried away with a lead or a deficit. And I think that is a big part of what Dave Roberts and what he's been able to, the message he shares to his team is one of positive, but one of also realizing you have to be able to persevere and get through those moments. The sky was falling, you know, not too long ago. Everyone was like, oh man, the Dodgers, this is the worst thing that could be happening at the wrong time. And I disagree. I think it actually works to their advantage.
But were you saying that when it was like 13 out of 14, 15 out? Yeah, I mean,
yeah, because there was no chance they were going to lose their lead. You got Kershaw. Yeah. You know it's going to flip. They faced some pretty hot teams in that stretch, and they lost a lot of close games. It wasn't like they were getting blown out. It's just, I've always been a big believer, and you've heard it said that you're not as good as you are when you're going good, and you're not as bad as you are when you're going bad. I really believe that. And we had those stretches where we had divisions won and we went into a lull.
Rendon with a drive out to left center field. That one well hit and gone. And Anthony Rendon, with his career best 24th of the year, has cut the Nationals' deficit in half.
Rendon having a great year, always falls in comparison to some of the great third basemen in the game. Of course, Machado and Arenado and Turner. We got 2 of the better third basemen in this ballpark playing. And somebody from the Nationals finally said, I'm going to hit a fastball.
Well, Rendon himself came awfully close to hitting one out in the second. A ball that he just pulled foul. There was no doubt about this one off the bat.
Fastball that cuts back over the middle. That looked like he missed the field goal on that throw. I love when he kicks his foot out. Rendon knows it as soon as he hit it.
Counts 0-1 on Jason Worth, who was called out on a curveball back in the second. This time he pops up in the infield. Bellinger parks under it, and that'll wrap up the inning. But on their first base hit of the afternoon, the Nationals get on the scoreboard. Anthony Rendon's 24th of the year. It's 2-1, Los Angeles.
Trips to Puerto Rico, say the word.
The postseason push is with MLB.com At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Enjoy game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcasts, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com At Bat today. Top of the order for the Dodgers in the 5th. Chase Utley, Corey Seager, and Justin Turner against A.J. Cole, who's given up the 2 runs, and both times it's been Cody Bellinger that's been the problem. A home run and an RBI double. 2-1 Dodgers here in the 5th. It was Utley that doubled and scored that second run with 1 away in the 3rd. The 1-0 from Cole. A ball and a strike. Kenny mentioned Hyun-Jin Ryu tomorrow on the mound for the Dodgers. This is the middle stop of a difficult late season trip for LA. 3 in San Francisco, 3 here over the weekend in DC, 4 in Philly before going back to Chavez Ravine. Did you notice all the Dodger fans here today, by the way?
I did.
Traveling like a college football team these days. (2-1) to Utley is swung on and lined into the right field corner. Utley making a bid for his 2nd double of the day. His former Philly teammate goes to gather it in right, and Chase Utley's aboard with an inning opening 2-base hit.
That's the downside of Cole when he gets underneath and the side of his breaking ball. It stays up in the zone and spins in the zone, making it much easier for Utley to handle it, lift, and watch this right there. See how it just spins right there? His hand action when he comes out of his glove either puts him in position to stay on top of the ball, or what I call look like he's holding a pizza tray. And that means he's He's laying off the ball, and that delay causes the difference in the effectiveness of the pitch.
First pitch to Corey Seager, bounce to second base, and not a bad idea from Daniel Murphy, who didn't think he was going to be able to throw out Seager to try to backdoor Utley. Utley didn't take the bait, and it's an infield single for Seager, and the Dodgers are cooking with runners at first and third.
So when you see the ball come out, see how he's on the side of the ball and it just spins like a cement mixer. You can almost see the seams right there making a big circle instead of a dot, and a hitter's eyes light up when they see that. And when he's been really good, A.J. Cole has been able to have that ball turn the corner, stay on top. He needs that pitch. His sinker's good enough, but he's got to have a complement secondary and third pitch to get him to the next level.
Big opportunity for LA here. Now it's Justin Turner. Nobody out runners at the corners.
So I know we mentioned about Rich Hill's pitching off of the third base side of the rubber. Well, Cole actually pitches off the third base side of the rubber, even though he sinks his fastball, and he's been primarily throwing it in to Turner on all three at bats.
It's a big inning for A.J. Cole. The numbers say that this is the time of a start when he has his trouble. Innings 1 through 4, A.J. Cole has a 2.63 ERA. From the 5th inning on, that number balloons to 2.45. And he has started this 5th inning under duress. A ball and a strike to Justin Turner.
See, there's a good inside fastball sinking. Of course, Turner fouls it off of that body or foot. It's the late movement, gets in, and then he fouls it off his foot. Now, ground ball to short is what he's looking for to get a double play. He'll trade 2 outs for 1. A good slider away with the way that Turner likes to basically hit the ball in the air, lift. If he hits the top half of that slider, it's going to go straight into the ground. But they've been pounding him in.
Turner not an easy batter to strike out. Ooh. 2-2 now.
That's the idea. A little more right there on the plate. That is where you get your ground ball double play. See where he wants it, and you see just that ball started a little too far, and Turner was able to recognize it sooner than A.J. Cole wanted that.
Cody Bellinger waits on deck. He's had Cole's number all afternoon. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Turner. Into center field. Taylor on the move at the track to make the catch. More than enough to tag and score Utley. Also trying to advance is Seager, and he'll do so just in front of the tag.
Wow, it sure looked like from up here. We're 18 miles away from action, but up here in this high booth, it looked like Murphy had put that tag down, but it was a question of whether Seager got the foot in time. High fastball allows Turner to hit it deep to center field. Wow. I got to believe it. I saw it live from, again, we're 18 stories up here, man. Yeah. But I thought he got the tag down.
Well, it looked for a moment like they were going to challenge, and now I think the Dusty Bakers called it off. And the Nationals will not challenge the call at second. We'll get a good look here.
Oh, he missed him. That's why.
Yeah.
The glove was actually on top of the bag. It had been in front of the bag. Based on where Murphy was in position, he couldn't get the glove down in front of the bag. He would have been out.
So here's Bellinger now. A home run and an RBI single so far this afternoon in his 2 plate appearances against Cole, who starts this one with a strike. Bellinger's now hit safely in 12 of his last 15 with his 2-for-2 start today. A ball and a strike to him now. Take you back to the 2nd inning. Time for Gatorade. Every ounce counts. Bellinger's 38th home run ties a National League rookie record. Wow, and Cole gets a call on a fastball that looked like it might have been off the plate. A ball and 2 strikes on Bellinger now.
But that's what you have to do to Bellinger. He had that base hit off the end of the bat that drove in a run, but you got to be down and away, and you've got to backdoor a slider on the outside part of the plate. I don't know if they'll do that or not, but either that up in his belt and in is the only way you're going to have success. You leave something out over the middle in any kind of height, he's crushing it. The inside ball, when he's made contact, he's only 1 for 18. He did get a home run on one of those pitches. But crowding him is another way.
Severino goes outside again, and it looked like he missed with a changeup that time. It's 2-2.
Haven't seen many backdoor sliders to left-handers out of A.J. Cole. We saw a couple that were thrown to Peterson, but Peterson has a way different approach than Bellinger.
Seager off second with a run in, and a full count now. 3-2 to Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger came into the game today with the 3rd highest home run rate by a rookie in Major League history, homering every 11.59 at bats. Only Mark McGwire in '87, his Rookie of the Year campaign, and Aaron Judge this year have had rookie seasons that have resulted in a bigger frequency of home runs. And there's ball 4. That's a fine plate appearance by Bellinger.
But that was the right approach, trying to get that call on the backdoor side of the slider.
Here comes pitching coach Mike Maddox. Moments away from applying the grip of death to the shoulder of A.J. Cole.
If you want to know typically what he does, a lot of it has to do with checking the pulse. When he does,
he's not doing it.
He's not. But when he goes out there and he puts it on the shoulder, his hand on the shoulder, kind of just wants to feel the pulse of the guy. That'll tell him a little bit what he needs to know in a particular part of the game.
You think Mike knows all he needs to know without putting the grip on him?
Well, if you've watched A.J. Cole, he doesn't show much emotion at all, and he really doesn't show much. So maybe that is kind of his personality. Sometimes that can be misread, saying it looks like a pitcher doesn't care. But he's just going to keep everything inside, not let anybody know anything outside what's going on.
Here's Yasiel Puig now. He's hit the ball hard twice today. Each has resulted in a line out to the outfield. Runners at first and second for him here with a run in and 1 gone. Yasiel Puig's line so far, the 2 lineouts, something we talked to Dave Roberts about before the game. And in explaining the year that Puig is having and his maturation as a player, as a hitter specifically, the Dodger manager felt like Puig needed to be convinced that an 0 for 4 with 4 good plate appearances and 4 loud outs was better potentially than just seeing results. So in trying to get him to the next level, Dave Roberts has preached process instead of being a results-driven player. I mean, it's about results at the end of the day. But, you know, Yasiel Puig, who wants to take care of his family, who wants to post numbers to earn money, in the estimation of Roberts, became a little too consumed with the results and took his eye off the process.
Well, that pitch he swung at is one that gives him problems. Up is something you can get him out, and away. Those are the 2 areas you have to go as a pitcher, especially right-handed pitcher. Up in the zone or away.
Little flare out to shallow right center, headed toward no man's land, but Murphy's back there to make the catch, get it into second, and double off Seager. What looked like a potentially big Dodger inning is limited at just 1 run. Daniel Murphy with some sleight of hand and a timely double play to keep it 3-1 LA. Through this National League Division Series rematch. It was a thriller last year between LA and Washington, and the end of the series was a lot of fun to watch. Game 4, Washington led the series 2-1. Chase Utley put him ahead with a single. Game 5, Jock Peterson, big home run of the 7th. Turner hit a 2-run triple to give him a 4-1 lead. Kenley Jansen a career-high 7 outs, and then Clayton Kershaw shut the door, recording the final 2 outs and moving the Dodgers to a date with the Cubs in the NLCS.
That was a crazy series. All I remember, I probably shouldn't remember this, but the 7th inning I think took an hour and 20 minutes. The 7th inning of Game 5.
It's easy to believe, actually. Good play by Seager to first, and they get the speedy Michael Taylor for the first out. I mean, when the bullpen doors swung open and that was the guy that came out, it was must-see TV.
Yeah, and again, that was last year when Kershaw had spent time on the DL because of a bad back, and then they rode him in the postseason. He did the same thing again this year. He looks healthy again, put the time in, and now they're looking to do maybe not the same formula. They have much more depth this year. They don't have to bring Kershaw back on 3 days rest.
There's Pedro Severino now. He struck out back in the 3rd. 7 strikeouts for Rich Hill in this one. And the only damage on the solo home run by Anthony Rendon. By the way, Rich Hill now, and this is kind of nitpicking because he's had such a good year, but Rich Hill has allowed a home run in 9 consecutive starts, and that ties for the 3rd longest such streak in Dodger history. Curveball swatted to 3rd for Turner, and 2 quick outs in the 5th. Rick Rhoden had 11 straight starts yielding a home run in 1973, and the late Jose Lima did it in 10 straight in 2004. So A.J. Cole makes a 3rd plate appearance this afternoon, a 2nd plate appearance that is, and on 1 pitch he'll be an easy casualty, part of a breezy 1-2-3 5th for Rich Hill. Still 3-0, 3-1 Dodgers. by the Lincoln Continental and by USAA, insurance, banking, and investments tailored for the military community. Hey, a reminder, start your NFL Sundays an hour earlier with Fox NFL Kickoff. Carissa Thompson, Tony Gonzalez, Dave Wanstead, Colin Cowherd, and Michael Vick have all the latest breaking news and updates you need to start your football Sunday. Fox NFL Kickoff tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern. A 3-1 Dodger lead as A.J. Cole will go back to work. Top of the 6th inning, and he's scheduled to face Curtis Granderson, Austin Barnes, and Jock Peterson. Of course, this was the day, this Saturday, that in the beginning of the week, Steven Strasburg was lined up to pitch. Steven has been at his very best down the stretch this year, 34 consecutive scoreless innings, as you see Oliver Perez up in the bullpen for Washington. I think Strasburg will get at least some run in the Cy Young discussion at the end of the year, and perhaps his stiffest competition will be internal, because Max Scherzer has been brilliant again. Gio Gonzalez has posted his best career year.
The last game that Scherzer threw hurt him a little bit. He had a 2-2 game against the Braves. He walked the bases loaded, gave up a base hit. Then they intentionally walked another guy, and the next pitch off the reliever hit a grand slam, so he got 7 runs on his earned run. But both managers are going to have challenges for individual awards down the stretch with the playoffs looming. And what I mean by that is you want your players to be able to perform as if they're not going to miss a beat. But you got Scherzer, you mentioned Strasburg, you've got Kershaw, all kind of in the mix for a potential Cy Young.
It's one of the great similarities with all the teams vying for best overall record in baseball. Cleveland and Houston in the American League, and the Dodgers and Nationals in the senior circuit. They all have a great big 3, quote unquote, as Granderson dumps a base hit right into their shift, and the Dodgers have their leadoff hitter aboard for the 2nd straight inning. So Scherzer, Strasburg, and Gonzalez, at least in terms of ERAs, ranked 3rd, 4th, and 5th respectively in the National League.
And for that reason, if I had to rank all the starting staffs going into the postseason, and it's a tough call because you've got the Indians, you got the Dodgers, of course, and you have the Astros and the potential teams of the Yankees. I think the Nationals have the best front 3 potential based on that graphic you just saw. Strikeouts galore, shut you down, and then a left-hander who's learned how to pitch without basically throwing the ball 97, 98 miles an hour.
And his timing couldn't be any better in a walk year contractually. In fact, those ERAs for Scherzer, Strasburg, and Gonzalez are 3.45 in all of baseball.
That's why I am really looking forward to this year's postseason, because the matchup intrigue is so good no matter who is in the playoffs. The Cubs, coming off the World Series, have not been the same team. They've been dinged up a little bit. They're starting to catch their offensive groove, if you will. They need Arrieta.
And that one hits Austin Barnes. So the Dodgers again threatening with runners aboard to start the inning.
That should do it for Cole, I would think.
Yeah, here comes Dusty Baker. Oliver Perez is hot. 2nd hit batsman of the afternoon. And for A.J. Cole, he was able to pitch out of a couple of tight spots, including getting a big double play in the 5th behind him. He will exit here with 2 runners aboard as his responsibility. Nobody out. And a 3-1 deficit on the scoreboard. We'll be right back. and Dusty Baker has no lack of options. 5 left-handers among his bullpen choices, and he has selected the veteran southpaw Oliver Perez to try to get him out of a jam here with 2 on and nobody out.
Yeah, veteran showing a little gray. I like it. A little gray on the side, but he's got all kinds of different motions. Little Louis Tion, all different angles. He'll drop down. He's got the slow curveball, slider. He can be funky, especially on left-handers.
And that among the reasons why the Dodgers are using a pinch hitter here. Chris Taylor batting for Jock Peterson.
This guy might be their hitting MVP. I don't know that anybody saw this coming. He has had a fantastic year, and he hunts the fastball. As you can see, 19 homers on the year. Playing a big role for the Dodgers.
Taylor's done his best work on the road in addition to being a steady performer at Dodger Stadium. Behind here, however, 0-2. Only 2 hitters in baseball with a better road batting average this year than Chris Taylor. One of them's on the field, Daniel Murphy, and the other is the perhaps leader in the discussions for American League MVP, Houston's Jose Altuve.
Oh, man.
And a called strike 3 taken by the pinch hitter Chris Taylor.
This is basically, here you go, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to come after you, and a high strike call. We've seen some high curveballs called today, and that one, based on what your pitcher on your side is getting, you can't really complain, even though you may think it's been a little high for your liking.
Back-to-back pinch hitters for the Dodgers now, as Logan Forsythe will bat in the pitcher's spot.
This is a guy they were hoping to get a little bit more production out of when they made the trade. It just really hasn't clicked in for him this year.
Well, being put in a little better position to succeed here, because as much as Forsythe has struggled this year, those difficulties have been more pronounced against right-handed pitching. So a chance here against the southpaw Perez, who starts him with a strike. Granderson and Barnes aboard with 1 away here, top of the 6th inning, and quickly 0-2 on this pinch hitter.
There's the numbers you see, 300 against lefties and righties, not so good. What a different team the Nationals are now. What they were viewed as a bullpen that was their undoing is now becoming part of their strength with the addition that they have made. They now have gone to the next level, because that's not their issue anymore. Doolittle, Kinsler, Madsen. That's significant upgrade. And now everyone, because you can fall in place, everyone knows you're only as good as the end result. And the end result has been much better of late for the Nationals.
Saw Josh Fields up in the Dodger bullpen there a moment ago. Come on and work the bottom of the inning. And a second straight pinch hitter is struck out by Ali Perez. So now Perez is just a Chase Utley away from mitigating what looked like a big problem. A leadoff single, a hit batsman. They go to the bullpen for back-to-back strikeouts, and now it's Utley who has a couple of doubles and 2 runs scored today. I want to correct something that I mentioned earlier regarding Gio Gonzalez, as we were talking about the fine national starting staff, and mentioned Gonzalez being in a walk year. His option for 2018 actually vested this week. He got to 180 innings. And that automatically kicked in the 2018 year. And Gio Gonzalez will remain a National, barring a trade next season. And that's, I think, good news for the folks around here for sure.
Yeah, I always like those kind of vesting options, because that tells you, A, you've been healthy, you've been contributing, and they're not going to control your innings because they don't want you. So it kicked in.
Utley sends a lazy fly ball out to shallow left center. Turner's under it. Great work by Oliver Perez, the Culiacan kid, still getting it done in his senior statehood. He keeps it a 2-run game. Telecast is sponsored by Wells Fargo, building better every day. Well, the Dodgers have built a 3-1 lead in this one, but they have been unable to pad it. They had good opportunities in each of the last couple of innings, but a double play ball and then some good relief work by Oli Perez has kept it a 2-run game. Some of the changes to post for you. The pinch hitters will stay in the game. Chris Taylor in center field. Logan Forsythe will stay in the game at second, and there's a new pitcher for Los Angeles as the right-hander Josh Fields takes over on the mound.
Fields used to be with the Astros, fastball curveball combination. Growing that playoff beard.
I'll say. That, sir, is an aggressive beard. A ball into strike to count to Trey Turner. Fields has been great since the break. In particular, he's held hitters to a 171 average with an 18 strikeout, 5 base on ball line since the midseason layoff. A ball and a strike to count to Turner. Turner, Kendrick, and Murphy here. Good opportunity for the Nationals with the top of their order and still a manageable 2-run deficit.
Yeah, Turner, if he gets on base, he makes the lineup so much better. He's got such a advantage on the base paths and puts the pitcher in a tough situation with his speed. That's why Dusty loves what he can do in more than one way for the team.
Turner with a drive out to left field. Granderson backing up on the track to make the catch. Trey Turner, who had a multi-hit game in 4 of his last 9, has been held hitless so far this afternoon. So 1 out, base is empty now for Howie Kendrick, who has also been held hitless thus far. And a guy that in a small sample size has had some success against Josh Fields. Howie Kendrick, a Dodger for a time in his career, and of course one of a number of notable ex-Dodgers playing as a national. I think the most notable among them come from the coaching ranks when you talk about Dusty Baker having spent 8 of his 19 major league seasons as a Dodger. First base coach Davey Lopes, former teammate of Dusty's in LA. Dusty was telling us before the game about, it was a year that the Dodgers went to the postseason, and I believe the year they had 5 players hit 20 or more home runs, which is kind of commonplace now. That down the stretch, Dusty was trying to get to 30, and Steve Garvey was trying to get to 200 hits. So despite the fact that they had clinched a postseason spot, they were still playing hard down the stretch to try to get to their individual accomplishments. He felt like that kept them fresher than was the case for some of their teammates who kicked it into a lower gear down the stretch of the season.
And you know what's amazing? We have too much noise that players listen to, that managers have to deal with, and that noise has become a negative connotation to rest your guy. You need to rest your guy. They don't understand the habits of a player. And once you start setting a negative thought in somebody's mind by saying, hey, you've got too many innings, we got to rest you for the postseason, you do exactly the opposite of what you intend to do. And I can tell you, having experience of going through it all those years for Atlanta, thank God we didn't have to deal with that.
And Kendrick is called out on strikes.
Because what happens with an athlete is a creature of habit. You start to feel the sense of kind of what Dusty's feeling, that his players might be going through clinching so early. There's a sense of theirs going through the motion a little bit, and they're not exactly locked into every at bat. The only guys that don't do that are the guys that are locked into individual award type scenarios, where you know Scherzer, you know Strasburg, who's got 34 consecutive scoreless innings, has something he's trying to continue. So there is something to be said for balance.
Daniel Murphy lines toward the opposite field, but there to cut it off is Seager. We'll continue this discussion as we roll into the 7th. Josh Fields gets him in order and keeps it a 2-run Dodger lead. Francisco Lindor and the Indians look to start a new winning streak against Eric Hosmer and the Royals. Major League Baseball today, continuing coverage, 3:30 Eastern, Indians and Royals on FS1. Kansas City still a wild card viable team. They've got Jason Hamill on the mound against Carlos Carrasco in Cleveland today. That AL wild card picture is too crowded and too early to call anybody out or even a favorite outside the Yankees, who have the 4-game advantage atop the pack. Pitching change here for the Nationals as we start the top half of the 7th in a 3-1 game. As left-hander Matt Grace takes over on the mound for Washington. He'll face Seager, Turner, and Bellinger for Los Angeles.
Now you've already saw the slider. First pitch, he's got a changeup, fastball at 90. Good movement on fastball and changeup. There's that movement that I was talking about. Sinking action.
38th appearance for Grace this year. He has yet to allow an extra base hit to a left-handed batter this season. And he'll face a pair of them here in the 7th. That takes care of Corey Seager on 3 pitches.
See what happens with a team when there's so much pressure on who's going to be the closer and everyone wants to do it. They step up and then all they do is press. That's what was happening to this Nationals bullpen. They had the arms. But now that they have a surefire end of the game closer, everybody else can relax and do their thing.
Justin Turner now, he's been hit by a pitch, struck out, and driven and run with the sacrifice fly. I'm going to press you for a wild card team outside the Yankees in the American League. Make a case for somebody, because it's crowded. It changes daily who's hot.
Well, I can tell you this. I know everybody is going to be Yankee fans starting Monday. Because if you're going to catch one team, it's the Twins. You're better off catching the Twins. They're going to hope that the Yankees sweep.
Right. Yankees with the 3-game series against the Twins.
And then everybody could move forward and catch the Twins. But the Twins are showing, even though they didn't go in a direction of adding, that they're not going anywhere and they're not intimidated.
Turner grounds out to Turner. And there are 2 gone in the 7th. And Ken Rosenthal, we continue to amaze at the Twins' fortunes. After looking like they were selling, they have been every bit as good as the best teams in baseball since the deadline.
Well, we were just talking about the Nationals bullpen. One of the relievers the Nationals acquired was Brandon Kinsler, the Twins closer. And of course, Jaime Garcia, the Twins had acquired him 5 days earlier, sent him to the Yankees. But the team I'm keeping my eye on here, they don't have much pitching, but it's the Los Angeles Angels. What a story this would be if they patched it together somehow and got into the wild card game. And maybe at that point, Garrett Richards would be built up to about 5-6 innings. They could somehow steal it. I don't know that it's going to happen. They're 2 games in back of the Twins right now, but that's a fascinating club. Mike Scioscia, strong manager of the year candidate.
You bet. Boy, that's a strong narrative too that you lay out. I mean, they don't have that decided ace. They don't have a big 3 the way the other favorites do. We just got through talking about the Astros and the Indians, and these 2 teams having a great strong big 3. The Angels don't seem to have that. They have a big weekend series next weekend in Houston, a series that'll be covered here on Fox. And why not the Angels? They have defied all the conventional logic as to how to go about competing with pitching this year. You see Brandon Morrow up in the bullpen for the Dodgers. Two balls and 2 strikes to Bellinger.
Well, Mike Scioscia has done, out of necessity, he's had to use more pitchers per game, period. And his bullpen has been under the radar, successful. Starters don't look like they've had the numbers that would indicate they're a playoff team. But he's done it.
And all business 1, 2, 3, 7th by the left-hander Grace in a 3-1 Dodger lead. all-new 2017 Jeep Compass. And by Kraft Macaroni and Cheese, the part of parenting that's impossible to mess up. Our Budweiser game summary. Cody Bellinger has done most of the damage among Dodger bats. Rich Hill was really good in this one, allowed just the one hit. It was a home run by Anthony Rendon, which stands as the lone run of the game for the Nationals, as LA looks for perhaps a fourth straight victory coming out of their 16 out of 17 slide. It's Brandon Morrow to take over on the mound for Los Angeles. He has been a revelation out of the Dodger bullpen this year, making his 41st appearance of the year.
Back-to-back guys out of the pen coming in 5-0. Talks about the depth and how good the Dodgers have been. They don't blow a lot of games. They come back in a lot of games, and they win a lot of games.
Ryan Zimmerman on the first pitch to the opposite field. All the way to the wall goes Yasiel Puig to make the catch, and a loud first out on the watch of Brandon Morrow. Well, Brandon Morrow, a first-round pick back in 2006 by the Seattle Mariners, and a guy who's been through a lot in his major league career, Kenny.
Absolutely, Matt. And every year teams bring in a slew of non-roster players on minor league contracts. And Mark Walter, the Dodgers' controlling owner, was looking at the list one day and he asked the GM Farhan Zaidi, okay, which of these guys should I be excited about? And Zaidi said, well, Brandon Morrow was selected 2 spots ahead of Clayton Kershaw. We think he's an upside play. He had shoulder surgery in 15. He had valley fever. Last year was a year in which he didn't pitch much in the majors. And sure enough, here is Brandon Morrow throwing hard. He's a trusted setup man, and he's a guy who did not sign with the Dodgers until January 25th last offseason.
While no strikes to count to Anthony Rendon. I mean, when you add things like valley fever to the medicals of a guy who's already been through the slew of pitching injuries that seem to come part and parcel with the craft. I mean, man, he's really gone through a lot. Elbow, shoulder, oblique, you name it.
You know anybody that's had valley fever before?
I know, I don't know him personally, but I know the former Diamondback Connor Jackson dealt with that at one point in his career. Derailed him for quite a long time, as a matter of fact. Ike Davis had valley fever.
Is it limited to a certain part of the region?
What, are you worried about yours? That might be what you have. Off Morrow's glove, deflected to Forsythe, who can't pick it up, and Rendon's aboard.
This ball hit off the glove, and all it took right there, enough. I think even if Oakland comes up with it, Forsythe comes up with it, he would have beat it out. So you can't get it at Happy Valley over in Penske.
Yeah, I don't think you have to be in a valley per se to get it.
Gotcha.
Though I'm not a doctor. Here's Jason Worth now, who's hitless so far today. Both Washington hits belong to Anthony Rendon. A tailor-made double play ball. Seager to Forsythe to Bellinger, and that'll do it. Brandon Morrow, despite the one-out single, with a clean 7th inning and a still 2-run lead. Out-of-market regular season game live, plus get a free subscription to At-Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. And another reliever will see some work for the Nationals in this one. Just a 3-1 ball game, and Matt Albers will get a chance to pitch, making his 510th career big league appearance.
Well, he's got a bowling ball sinker, a really good slider, and you see the numbers are much better. He's had some hard luck giving up early on, some tough hits to close out a game as everyone was trying to figure out who the closer was going to be. But he's got some good stuff, and he's made some changes that have worked out in his favor with the hand position of where his glove and where his hand comes out of his glove.
Yasiel Puig, Curtis Granderson, and Austin Barnes as Puig sends a chopper to third. Nice play by Rendon.
Rendon so good with the glove. Charges and gets the in-between hop like just nothing. You see that sidearm throw quite a bit over counterpart Zimmerman.
Curtis Granderson has a single and a walk on his line this afternoon, and he'll bat with one away and the base is empty. 3-1 Los Angeles. You had talked about this a little earlier. If it wasn't for Nolan Arenado in the National League, Manny Machado in the junior circuit, I think Anthony Rendon might get a little bit more run. But the social media department of the Nationals got into a fun, friendly exchange with that of the Rockies earlier this year, talking about, in so many words, our guy is the best third baseman in the circuit. Turned into kind of a fun give and take. And at the time, it didn't seem like a very good argument, because Nolan Arenado's the guy widely recognized as the best overall third baseman in baseball. But you really do have to pay attention to Rendon's performance this year. And that conversation's probably closer than what people might think.
Here comes my pet peeve. Maybe in the case of Matt Albers, it might apply.
You don't like when the pitcher yields, huh?
Mound, man. That's your mound. That's your area. You're used to it. Here's the changes that he has made, though. You might think it's insignificant, but it has been very significant. Look how low his handset is on the left, and where it is on the right gives him a better arm swing out of the glove and more consistency. See how he's got to raise up on the left? He's already there, and he relies so much on sinking movement and cutting action. He's been really good of late.
Austin Barnes now. He has doubled and been hit by a pitch today.
How many times have you seen an infielder come across the mound and trip trying to catch a ball? It happens.
I mean, it's pretty rare, though, right?
But it happens. Pitcher's on that mound. Pitcher wants that ball more than anybody. Why did somebody decide that an infielder is better suited to catch a pop-up? Gives us a bad name.
A ball and a strike to count to Austin Barnes. Know exactly how to get you going. You could be having the best day of your life. You could be 6 under, walking up the back, and someone brings that up and it'll send you into another gear.
That's right. It's an athlete on the mound, ladies and gentlemen, most of the time.
2 balls and a strike.
80% of the time.
Kenny, is there an equivalent for you? I mean, could we get you aggravated by suggesting something the same way we can get John worked up by talking about pitchers yielding on fly balls?
The September 40-man roster aggravates me, but I just want to say one thing about the pitcher catching pop-ups on the mound. And I'll say this as diplomatically as I can. Not all pitchers are as athletic as John Smoltz was.
Okay, good point. Albers just misses the corner. It's a full count now. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Austin Barnes.
There's that sinking action.
Woo.
Chris Taylor on deck. Should Barnes keep the inning alive? Here's the 3-2 home. Well, whether it's solely the result of the hand change or not, the numbers have been a lot better for Matt Albers this year than last. He's more in line with his 2015 season, and he posted a 1.21, a career low ERA. And he'll try it again on a full count pitch on its way home to Austin Barnes. Missed on ball 4.
I don't know if Severino hurt him there or not by not catching that ball.
So now Chris Taylor.
He won't be shy. Taylor,
who came on to pinch hit back in the 6th and struck out on 3 pitches against Oliver Perez. The base on balls to Barnes is the first base runner who has gotten aboard against the Nationals reliever in this one. Perez, Grace, and now Albers in relief of A.J. Cole. Sold out crowd here on this Saturday, by the way. A fan base that is rather hungry for a championship season in something.
Yes. And they've got a lot to be excited about this year, as they have in the years past, but this year has a lot more promise to it, I believe.
A ball and a strike, the count to Chris Taylor. Yeah, a couple of near misses of late. Division series runs that a lot of people thought would get them a little bit deeper. No one around here wants to talk about Game 5 against the Cardinals. Nobody wants to talk about the intentional walk to the Giants. Some of the division series failings. What happened last year against the Dodgers in 5 games.
But they are going to get to talk about Strasburg, hopefully. Something that has not been in the postseason the last couple times. Only one time have they had Strasburg available to pitch.
Rolled out to third base. Rendon will go the short way to cut down Barnes and retire the side. Still just a 2-run game. We go to the bottom of the 8th. It remains 3-1 Los Angeles. Will wrap up tomorrow afternoon with Steven Strasburg pitted against Hyun-Jin Ryu. And we've talked about Strasburg throughout the telecast today in the midst of his finest campaign and in the midst of a franchise best consecutive scoreless streak that has reached 34 straight innings. And it'll be Strasburg tomorrow afternoon. Again, originally scheduled to go today, but Dusty Baker and the Nationals changing their rotation to space things out a bit, and it'll be Strasburg tomorrow afternoon. 3-1 Dodgers as we see a pitching change for Los Angeles. Ross Stripling takes over to work the last of the 8th, and they'll get Michael Taylor to start things out. Bottom third of the Nationals order, Washington down a pair. What has been, and you've watched Steven Strasburg closely since he debuted, what has been the difference this year in addition to being healthy? Has there been an adjustment? Is there something he's doing differently in terms of pitch selection?
That was
Boy, a quick at bat.
Good afternoon, good night. It really, to me, has been the evolution of his pitches and the consistency of it. That goes hand in hand with health. His changeup is so good, but he's brought along this slider that takes pressure off the curveball that he has. So he has 4 pitches that a hitter has to think about when he goes to the box. His fastball's 96 plus. He throws that Bugs Bunny changeup at 90 or 89, and his curveball breaks off the table. And then when you mention his slider slash cutter, it's just the evolution of his ability to stay healthy and dominate. He is a dominant, best 4-pitch pitcher that you can imagine from the right-hand side. And now they got 2 of them on the same staff with him and, of course, Scherzer.
Wilmer Difo is the pinch hitter, and there's a bouncer over Stripling that Seager can't handle, and the Nationals will bring the tying run to the plate here in the last of the 8th. Kenny, let's bring you in on the Strasburg discussion as we see the bouncer for a base hit once again off the bat of Wilmer Difo. I mean, the health issue is central to his success again this year.
It is, Matt, and talking to some of the Nationals players, they're excited to have him for the postseason. He's pitched only 1 postseason game in his career, and they're excited for Strasburg, knowing what he has meant to the franchise from the moment he was drafted.
We're going to see a pitching change as Dave Roberts, after a couple of quick plate appearances, a strikeout and an infield single, will go back to his bullpen. Another pitching change for LA, and we'll be right back. takes over with 1 out and 1 on, in front by 2 runs rather here in the 8th. And as you take a look at Watson's split line between the Pirates and Dodgers this year, as a Dodger, 2-1 with a 3.60 ERA and an opponent's batting average of under 200.
Sinker at 94 with good movement. Changeup acts more like a screwball type changeup that moves, and a slider at 85.
Adam Lind is the pinch hitter with 1 out and 1 on. Lind representing the tying run. Just a run on 3 hits for Washington. That sprayed past Seager into the opposite field. Defoe runs well. He's to third. And the Nationals have something going here in the 8th inning.
You have no idea how hard it is to come off the bench after 8 innings and not seeing anything. Jump on the first fastball that you see. Lynn has been a great addition to the Nationals. He hits this ball so hard that even Seager, who is shaded up the middle, could not make this play. See how he's shaded up the middle? Ball has spin, gets under his glove, and the speed of Defoe gets him to third.
Well, to your point on Adam Lind, there has not been a pinch hitter in baseball that's been more productive than the veteran left-handed bat of the Nationals. He's removed for a pinch runner here.
You know, back in the day, every team used to have one of those guys, and sometimes 2, and that has been eliminated by an extra pitcher and a younger hitter now. We don't have the veteran guy on the bench, per se, in a lot of teams unless they have resources, much like the Dodgers, who can spend a little bit more money. But that used to be a byproduct that everybody knew who that pinch hitter was on every team, and today that is gone by the wayside.
By the way, they are scoring an error to Seager on that ball.
Nah, they're going to change that.
An error for the time being, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm going to make the call. They're going to relook at that and say it was hit pretty hard and he didn't get a glove on it. And that's pitcher talking. So ball was hit hard and he just did not get a glove on it. I don't know how you can make that
that's a tough error.
Assumption that he's going to make a play.
He was shifted as well. As that pitch misses to Trey Turner, and it's a ball and a strike now. So first and third with 1 away. And Tony Watson trying to pitch out of a jam.
Well, obviously Trey Turner's trying to get a hit or a gapper. But if he does hit the ball on the ground, unless it's a rocket 1 hopper, it's tough to double him up.
He's hit into only 4 double plays this year. You know, getting back to Adam Lind, remembering how late he was added to the roster, how an accomplished hitter who is coming off consecutive strong years, it's not like this is a guy in decline. He couldn't get a job. And Turner hits the hole on the left side. It's a 1-run ball game. The tying and go-ahead runs on base with 1 out in the 8th.
And the crowd, who's only had one thing to cheer about, and that was a homer by Rendon, is now starting to feel a little bit better.
The Nationals didn't even have a runner in scoring position until the 8th inning of this game today. And yes, indeed, the sellout crowd finally has something to make a little noise about. Howie Kendrick, the batter. Watson yet to record an out. He lost the pinch hitter Lind on a ball that was ruled an error, and then the RBI single to Turner. Here's Kendrick now, hitless so far today, and he takes strike 1.
Kendrick pretty good at staying up the middle and right center, and I would think on a sinker away, that's the best approach against Watson. Unless he buries something in, you got to pull your hands through and pull the ball down the line.
High fly ball into shallow center field. Taylor coming on for it to make the catch, and there are 2 away here in the 8th.
That one looked like he pulled off. If he'd have stayed in that right center approach, that would have been a different result. See where the pitch was, and then just off the end of the bat, he knows it.
Well, if Dusty Baker were to have the opportunity to hand select somebody to bat in this spot, in the absence of Bryce Harper, it would be this man, Daniel Murphy. A .388 hitter with runners in scoring position and 2 out. His .400 batting average with runners in scoring position is the best in baseball. Ties him with Nolan Arenado for the top mark in either league.
He's just so good at staying back and not jumping out towards the pitcher. Even lefty on lefty, he's able to track the ball longer. He is trying to elevate the ball. There's no doubt that's been part of his success. But if a ball is middle in, he does damage with it now.
22 home runs for Murphy this year. That's lined into right. Puig lays out and makes the catch. The Dodger bullpen bends, but Yasiel Puig prevents it from breaking. A 1-run game as we go to the 9th. Get new lower prices on thousands of items. Target Run and Done. And by Boost Mobile. Boy, an exciting end to the half inning as Daniel Murphy looked for a moment as though he was going to deliver the first lead of the game for Washington.
Yeah, he's dangerous inside there, and it just a little bit stays up for Puig.
I'm not sure if you buy into defensive runs saved as a true defensive metric or not. Some people don't, a lot of people do, but Yasiel Puig is second in that category among major league right fielders. Only Mookie Betts scores out higher, and his glove put to good use there. He keeps it a 1-run Dodger lead. Ryan Madson, the new pitcher for the Nationals, part of their deadline bullpen overhaul, which has yielded great results. Madson in particular has been terrific. Last 27 games, a .96 ERA.
This guy is nasty, and he was nasty with the Royals. He's got good action to his fastball, long arm delivery, which presents a problem for the hitter. Good change of speeds, good secondary stuff, and a big time upgrade to this bullpen.
Logan Forsythe, and then the pitcher spot followed by Corey Seager, and Forsythe is aboard as a hit batsman. It was 2 deals and 3 new players that turned a weakness into a strength in D.C. Sean Doolittle and Ryan Madson coming from the A's a couple of weeks before the deadline, and then on deadline day, one that really surprised a lot of people. They got Brandon Kinsler from the Twins, and you can see what a difference those 3 pitchers have made for a bullpen group that really struggled before the acquisition of Doolittle and Madson. The pinch hitter is Adrian Gonzalez, and on the first pitch, a ground ball to second. Murphy to Turner, back to Zimmerman, the double play.
Adrian not known for his speed, known for his bat. Pretty much not tailor-made, because those are the harder ones to turn, but Turner knows he's got time. If he makes an accurate throw, he's getting it.
The Dodgers have had their leadoff hitter aboard in 5 of the 9 innings they've opened in this game, and have scored 3 runs to show for it. They had multiple base runners aboard with less than 2 out in the 5th and 6th, and scored a grand total of 1 run between those 2 rallies. That's helped keep the Nationals close in just a 1-run ball game here. 0-1 the count to Corey Seager, who's 1 for 4 today.
See, that's what I was talking about, that first pitch movement with a foot starting inside. Sinker gets a strike call, and then he drops a curveball right around the same height of where that fastball is. Try to front door a sinker against Corey Seager.
And a swing and a miss. Inning started out with a hit batsman, then a double play ball and a strikeout, and the Nationals face a 1-run deficit against Kenley Jansen as we go to the last of the ninth. Army battles 8th-ranked Ohio State, and then the big one, Texas and number 4 USC meeting for the first time since their epic 2006 national championship game. That's at 8:30 Eastern on Fox, where every game is everything. One-run ball game as we go to the bottom half of the 9th inning. 3-2 Dodgers. LA is 3 outs away from a 4-game winning streak after a dismal stretch of losing 16 out of 17, and Kenley Jansen has been a part of LA getting its swagger back. Time now for our Gatorade Extra Effort player profile. Jansen has been great, second in the National League in saves. 53 of his 60 appearances on the year have not yielded a run.
This guy's been unbelievable. Cutter, 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 cutter is what you're going to see.
Ryan Zimmerman the first to face him, and Jansen starts him with a strike.
And you got to get him to get the ball down. He gives the illusion that the ball up looks good to hit, and they just don't get on top of it because of the cut spin that he has.
Zimmerman 0 for 3 so far today. Had hit safely in 12 of his last 18 at the start of the game. A couple of hops out to Forsythe and 1 out in the last of the ninth. It's been a few days since Jansen's been on the mound. Last worked on Tuesday. And you've got to go back quite a ways to find his last blown save. That was way back on July 23rd. He has safely converted 13 since. And now he goes to work on Anthony Rendon.
When you lose 15 out of 16, you're not really getting much chances to get in there. Do your thing.
Rendon has been really the only bright spot for the Nationals lineup today. A walk, a single, and a solo home run, his career best, 24th of the year.
Not every scenario works out like this, but how about the decision to say, you know what, I know you're a catcher, we're going to make you the most dominant closer in the game. I don't think it went like that. I just think they didn't like the way he was hitting, and they liked his arm, and they turned him in to a reliever.
Yeah,
it's an amazing.
I'll give you one that's even more amazing than that. Is that the day Kenley Jansen walked in the door at 6'5", 275, someone said, "We're going to make you a catcher." Rendon's jammed, and off the fists for Logan Forsythe. Jansen is an out away from sealing up a victory here. Grip the Moment, sponsored by Falcon Tires, the official tire of Major League Baseball. We might not have been talking about a save opportunity had it not been for Yasiel Puig's catch, with runners aboard and a run in already, that preserved the lead in the 8th. Puig has had an underreported outstanding year, both offensively and defensively. Jason Worth, the last chance for the Nationals today.
See, the problem with the approach maybe even Worth likes to employ is Jansen doesn't throw many balls, so you're going to have to pick one out in the strike zone, or one you think that looks good. You don't want to get deep in the count with this guy.
Worth with a fly ball toward foul territory. Near the line is Seager. Granderson is there, sliding to make the catch and wrap it up this afternoon. So a team that earlier in the week had lost 16 out of 17 has its swagger back officially with its 4th straight win this afternoon.
Well, Granderson had to come a long way for that. And he makes a nice sliding catch just before he gets to the dirt. Kenley Jansen, the outfielders get together there.
Win number 96 as the best record in baseball gets a little better this afternoon. A 3-2 Dodger victory for Ken Rosenthal and John Smoltz. Matt Vasgersian thanking you for joining us. 3-2 Dodgers over the Washington Nationals this afternoon in D.C. After a quick break, Rob Stone in our college football studio. College football coming up next on Fox. It's the Dodgers winning their 4th in a row. A 3-2 victory in Washington, D.C. today. Thanks for watching, everybody. So long.